Hey, it's Grant with Grant Bakes. I think I might have discovered a technique for how to make sourdough without any stretch and folds. This technique that I'm going to show you is really good at building gluten development, but it doesn't take near as much time as doing stretch and folds. So I think this method might replace stretch and folds for me, especially when I'm in a hurry to make sourdough bread. Let me show you how to do it.
So this is just my regular sourdough bread process. I start with water, then some salt, sourdough starter, and then bread flour. Once the ingredients are all weighed out, I just mix everything together with a spoon until there aren't really any dry bits of flour left, and the dough looks something like this. It will hold together, but it does tear apart if you pull on it like that. So the dough needs some gluten development, which is what this video is all about. At this point, I am just going to give the dough a 30-minute rest to let the flour hydrate. So cover it up and let it rest for a half hour at room temperature. Then this is where my process changes. At this point, I usually do 3 sets of stretch and folds. So I give the dough a set of folds, let it rest for 30 minutes. I give it another set of stretch and folds, another 30-minute rest, and then I give it a third set of stretch and folds. That's all fine and good, but what I'm about to show you can save you a bunch of time and produce a very similar result to a bread made with stretch and folds. All you have to do right now is pick up your dough and give it 10 slap and folds, just 10. So pick the dough up, slap it down on the counter. Keep doing that over and over, just 10 times, and that's it. Pick up the dough, slap it down, fold it over, slap it, fold it, slap it, fold it, slap it, and fold it. And just after 10 times, the top of the dough already is looking pretty smooth. That happened a lot faster than if I was doing the stretch and fold method. So after I do the slap and folds, I just kind of shape up the dough into a ball by cupping and pulling the dough with my hands like this. This is almost exactly what I do to shape the dough later on in the process after the bulk fermentation. But doing the shaping like this now also creates tension across the top of the dough, which helps develop even more gluten. So you can see that with just under 2 minutes of active work with my hands, the dough already looks pretty good. It looks like it's already gone through 3 sets of stretch and folds. The dough is smooth on top, and it bounces back a little bit. There's definite tension in the dough. I'm calling this good for me. I think my dough is ready for bulk fermentation at this point. There is one more test you can do, however, if you're concerned about gluten development, and that is the classic Windowpane test. So just let your dough rest for about 5 minutes and then stretch it out thin. You're trying to stretch out a really thin layer of dough. Ideally, you'll be able to see light passing through the dough like this before the dough has a chance to rip. If you do the Windowpane test and your dough doesn't rip, you are good to go and start bulk fermentation. If it does rip before you get the Windowpane, you can just go ahead and give it maybe 10 more slap and folds and then try it again. Since my dough was good to go, I just went ahead and shaped it into a ball and prepared for the next step. I'm just going to move my dough over to a glass bowl that I've oiled with a little bit of olive oil. I'm going to get oil on both sides of the ball, and then I'll cover it up with a lid. Now I'm going to let this bulk ferment, then I'll shape it and proof it and bake it. Then I'll show you the result at the end. Hopefully I'll get a very similar result to what I get with stretch and fold sourdough. And I'd say that's a sourdough success. I got a nice ear on the loaf, I got pretty significant oven spring, and the best part is I saved a lot of time in the process. Now cutting into this loaf, I am going to show you what it looks like on the inside. And honestly, I was really happy with the result. This looks very similar to what I normally get with my stretch and fold sourdough bread. Normally I get kind of an even, more tight sourdough crumb. It's not crazy open or wild or anything like you see on Instagram. So I'm pretty happy with the result. It's very similar to what I usually get. So if you don't love stretch and folds, if you're looking for a new technique, or if you even just want to save some time during the sourdough baking process and want to avoid the stretch and folds this time, this method is for you. Now this method will work for almost any sourdough recipe, but of course I'm going to recommend mine, which you can click on right here.